Hello, my name's Paul,
Hi, my name's Rachel.
and we are the English Language Lab, and this is our business English podcast, BizPod.
We're going to try to teach you everything you need to know about business English.
So, whether you need English for job hunting, presentations, meetings, or any other form of communication, you have come to the right place.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy BizPod.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Paul. I understand you've got a very interesting topic today, a little bit of a somber topic.
Yeah, well, I suppose somber could be a good way to describe it. But I thought, a very topical thing to talk about is war.
Ooh,
Or, well, not
okay.
particularly war itself, but the business of war.
Is there a business of war?
Well, I would certainly say so. Yeah, I mean, wars cost money.
Yeah.
You have to pay your soldiers and your airmen.
Mhm.
You have to buy the bullets and the guns and the aircraft.
You have to fuel the tanks.
You have to fuel the tanks. So it's a huge business. I mean, I said the business of war, but we could easily talk about the business of defense.
Yeah. That sounds a bit nicer. The business of defense. Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about defense.
A military presence. So you're talking about physical security or some kind of security.
Yeah, no, the military presence, military security. Let's call it that.
Okay.
Okay. So we come from the UK, and the UK has a regular standing army. I don't know the numbers precisely, but maybe 100,000 people.
Okay.
In the standing army.
No idea.
How much money do you think the UK spends on defence every year?
No idea.
Neither do I, but I bet it's a lot of money.
Do we need to know? Is it important?
Not particularly, but if you think about it, it's probably a huge amount of money. We are talking about billions rather than millions or thousands. We are talking billions.
Okay. I mean, why is this of interest to somebody who is learning business English?
Well, because it is a business. The business of defense, the business of war is a business.
Okay.
I think we can certainly say it's a business because defense and war never happens unless you have a flow of money, services and goods. Okay,
so there's financial implications for accountants and people budgeting and purchasing and acquisitions, import, exports.
Of course, there's an entire supply chain involved
logistics
in defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's a very interesting topic to talk about in general anyway.
Okay.
But there are probably, we don't know, but then there are potentially tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people employed in the industry of defense, in the business of defense throughout Europe and around the world who could be listening to our podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Now that person might be an accountant.
Okay.
But if you're an accountant or you work for a company that is involved in the defense industry, avionics,
automotive, they might be providing specific parts.
Parts. I know. There are companies around the world that manufacture weapons, rockets.
Yeah, but we're just imagining all this. Of all my years teaching, I have never had a student who was involved in what you are describing as the war of business. I had a friend at school who went to be a soldier, but in fact, I had a few actually who went off to do various bits and bobs. But have you had anybody who's okay? Tell me about it then. What did you discuss?
A few years ago, I had a student who worked for a company that manufactured radar systems for the military.
Yes.
Okay. So this was a military sort of, contractor. They provided, these radar systems to the military. I presume all around the world. I don't know who to. But they were just normal people who worked in a business that was in the business of defense.
Okay. So what, in terms of the English classes then, what were you helping them with?
Project management, to be honest.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this industry and all this business of defense, you could probably describe it as being very similar to the automotive industry.
Yep.
Within the automotive industry, you have all sorts of people working there, from logistics, warehouse operatives, engineers, accountants, project managers, human resources. All of those people exist in the business of defense as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's certainly relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. So, I mean, is that an area you're particularly interested in?
Well, I think I am. I'm particularly interested in.
Is there a spy business? That's
war
what you're
movies
interested
and spy
in.
movies. There is a spy business, of course. There's a spy business.
Recruiting.
We know there's a spy business.
Spies don't get fired, do they? They just sort of die, and you have to re-recruit again. It's constant recruiting.
Yeah. Do you know what? If I could go back to when I was young, I would become a spy.
You'd be no good.
Why?
Because when you were young, you had ginger hair and we'd spot you a mile off.
Okay. I've still got ginger hair. I just don't have much of it anymore.
But you wouldn't blend in with the crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would. My ginger hair would have maybe stand out a mile, definitely.
Okay. All right. But I mean, there's another aspect when you talked about war. When the pandemic started, the language all around the pandemic was the language of being on the front line and combat.
Defeating the virus.
Yeah, but we've already spoke about that, haven't we? So, I mean, do you think, is there any other area where you use that kind of confrontational vocabulary, defeating the aggressor?
Yeah, well, I think it's language that is generally used when you're talking about competitors, aren't you? Your competition.
Yeah.
Perhaps if you work for one company and you have a big rival and you're both, aiming to catch the same customer, then you're likely to use that sort of aggressive, combative language, the language of war. We want to defeat our competitors. We want to be victorious. We want to succeed.
Yeah. I was also thinking about sport, because with sport, you have sponsorship. And with sponsorship is always about, getting ahead of everybody else. There is a sort of combative element of sport with teams.
Yeah, of course there is.
Fighting each other for dominance in whatever league it is. Yeah.
I think Formula One is a good example of that. They're always battling each other and fighting and, trying to sort of gain a certain one-upmanship against the other sort of competitors.
Yeah. Applying different tactics, strategies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also there's the famous book, The Art of War.
Yeah.
Have you read The Art of War?
No, I haven't. What's it about? It's not about war, I presume.
It's about war. It's I can't remember who wrote it, but it's an ancient Chinese script and called The Art of War. And it, again, possibly written thousands of years ago, but it described how you defeat your enemy, and it describes the tactics of war. But this book has been adopted, particularly in America, over many, many years, into the business world. So these tactics of war have become tactics of business.
In the boardroom, yes.
Yeah, in the boardroom.
I was also thinking about chess.
Okay, yeah. That's a very combative game, isn't it?
Well, strategy. You've got to know your strategy. Yeah. We watched Zulu the other day, didn't we? The movie with Michael Caine, where they were talking about the Zulus' sort of bullhorn strategy.
The pincer movement.
Yeah. So
there's always strategies.
Yeah. So the language of war is very applicable to the area of business and lots of other areas in life.
I think so. Yeah. Definitely.
Life is a constant battle.
Yeah, well, maybe it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So the language of war, or the language of defense, whatever you want to call it, it is great vocabulary and great phrases to help people in business situations, because and people view, like you said, the governments viewed COVID as a war against COVID. Yeah, businesses may look at, say, cost reductions in a factory as a battle to reduce costs.
Yeah, they're struggling. Yeah, they're fighting to reduce costs. Yeah. But also we're talking about competitors as well. Yeah, there's always two sides. Two sides to a chess game, two sides to a football match, two sides to a war. Exactly. Okay. All right. That sounds lovely. Thank you very much for that today. I feel educated.
No problem. Okay, let's watch war movies.
Okay, fair enough.